You are now listening to TheGrio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.
Welcome back to TheGrio Daily and our special edition of the Wypipo Awards. Let's get back into our accolades. Our next category is Worst Wypipo-ing by a Duo or Group. Now, this isn't individual efforts, right? This is group. This is like when racism is a group project. So this category honors like groups, organizations, companies who were the best. They were head and shoulders above everybody else. And white people. The first nominee is the GOP. I mean, they ditched Trump last year. They didn't change their racist policies or, admit that he lost the election, or they didn't even embrace democracy. But, they kept white people in. So that's why they were nominated. Moms for Liberty. Now, this is a quiet group that is of white women that is slowly taking over school boards all over the country and trying to eliminate stuff like CRT and wokeness and social, all the stuff white people talk about. But they are the nominee for, worst white people wing by a duo or group. Because I don't know, since when has white people ever been forced to learn about history or science or equality? Anyway, the anti-woke movement is next. White people really rode with that I hate wokeness thing this year. They did it just like they did critical race theory, political correctness, and black power. They, redefined it and changed it to mean something that's anti-white. So they deserve to be nominated. Our next nominee in this category, Worst New White People by a Duo or Group, is a surprise nominee. It's rappers. And I'm not even talking about white rappers, right? This is black rappers. Say what you will about them, but there's no denying that the whole hip hop community came together in 2022 to support whiteness. Ye was a trailblazer, but we can't forget about how 50 Cent, The Baby, and Drake didn't just support a man like Tory Lanez, who is, it's Lanez? No, I'm pretty sure it's Lanez. No, I can't name him on this song. Okay. Anyway, they supported Tory Lanez, I guess, who fired a killing machine at an unarmed black woman.
I never put my hands on anybody. I never raised my voice too loud. Like, this was one of them times where it was like, it shouldn't have got this crazy.
It shouldn't have escalated to the way that it did.
But they took every opportunity to mock Megan Thee Stallion. Like, Drake even wrote a song about it. But you know how light-skinned dudes are. They beat in their feelings. And they didn't just reserve their BS for black women. Like Uncle Luke and Killer Mike fueled that myth about black male voters hating Stacey Abrams or something. Nicki Minaj was a medical expert when she looked at her cousin's friend's balls. And Akon, he said that black Americans don't work as hard or entertain as well as, people from Africa. I don't know. But it was basically echoing the sentiments of white people. But the winner is the police. They were a runaway winner, I think this is the 168th year in a row that they've won this award. But you gotta admit, as a duo or a group, they did a lot of work this year. George Floyd killers were convicted, and they said it wasn't their fault. The Uvalde Police Department stood around and let somebody literally slaughter children in Uvalde, Texas. The Secret Service destroyed their phone records before the January 6th committee could get them. And at least 19 law enforcement officers were arrested or indicted for participating in the January 6th insurrection. And don't forget about how the FBI, the GOP turned against the FBI for doing their job. Yet in spite of the mountain of evidence that police are criminals who don't stop crime, Joe Biden this year began an effort, and we called it Safer America. And he began an effort to increase police funding. By the way, whatever happened to that police reform bill that we was talking about? It was going to be called the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Whatever happened to that? I have no idea, which is why The police are this year's best white people-ing by a duo or a group. Next on our list, we have the white boy of the year. Now, this is a pretty, intense category, right? The competition in this one is really high. So let's look at our nominees. First up, Tucker Carlson. He's like Fox News chief white nationalist. And he had a banner year this year. He had good ratings. He dominated the narrative. He kind of got Tiffany Cross fired. He told everybody about the great replacement theory. And he attacked every notable woman. Tiffany Cross, Joy Reid, Ketanji Brown Jackson. I mean, if you black, he probably said something about your mama. You probably just didn't watch it. The next nominee is Ron DeSantis. Not only did Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, he led movements in anti-wokeism with that Stop Woke Act. He had a Don't Say Gay bill. He had an anti-CRT bill. He had an anti-vaxxing bill, anti-masking bill, where he fined teachers for making people wear masks. But he also emerged as the likely Republican nominee for president in 2024. But my favorite part about what Ron DeSantis did is this.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a protector. So God made a fighter.
Next nominee is Joe Rogan. To be fair, I have been listening to the Joe Rogan podcast for years. So I know that Joe, for years, has enjoyed using the N-word. He loves to platform white supremacists for his own enjoyment. He likes to spread fake scientists, Santa Claus came from mushrooms. He just likes to talk about stuff that he doesn't know anything about. And, a lot of people say that's intellectual curiosity, except when you have 11 million people listening to every episode, it's kind of irresponsible. But in 2022, everyone started paying attention to Rogan. And that's why he was a nominee for White Boy of the Year. The next nominee is Brett Favre. Brett Favre became the poster child for the white welfare queen. And yeah, it is a welfare queen, even though he's male. See, a welfare queen is actually gender neutral. And, in 2022, investigators discovered he was trying to build or buy a volleyball facility for his daughter with food stamp money or, I don't know, EBT card. But the winner is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the 2022 White Boy of the Year. He kept talking about he was going to buy Twitter to protect free speech and democratic principles. And then he bought Twitter for too much money, and he had to borrow some money. And then he borrowed it from people who don't protect speech, autocrats like Saudis and, other rich people. And then they said he was a corporate genius, but then he proceeded to limit speech and kick people off Twitter. And then he was so dumb, he drove his company's stock into the ground, Tesla. And he is kind of like a crazy, he is the embodiment. He's like a little bit of Joe Rogan, a little bit of Brett Favre, with a sprinkle of Ron DeSantis and Tucker Carlson. He's basically earned the title of White Boy of the Year. He's like the Joe Rogan of Ron DeSantis. We're going to take a break here, give you some time to use the bathroom. We're going to ask the waiters to bring more champagne out. And we're going to continue with the Wypipo Awards on the next episode of TheGrio Daily.
If you liked what you heard, please give us a 5-star review, download the TheGrio app, subscribe to the show, and share it with everyone you know. Please email all questions, suggestions, and compliments to podcasts@thegrio.com.
You are now listening to TheGrio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.